the Crafting DM.
Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome back to another edition of
Dollar Store Chop Shop.
Today, we'll be taking a look at how I converted these $2 BattleClaw starter packs into some pretty neat desert-themed minis using nothing but paint. Each pack comes with 3 minis, a claw contraption, and a few cards and tokens. I thought the minis looked pretty good as is, so the project would end up being a glorified paint job. Alright, let's take a look at these minis. If you haven't subscribed yet, and you think you might like to, now might be a good time to click that button. Thanks! In the packs I picked up, there were 4 different types. Out of this haul, I brought home 3 scorpions. You can see the plastic on these minis is a bit rubbery. In the end, it didn't really matter though. They took paint very well. I've had issues in the past with terrain crate pieces being sticky after priming, but that wasn't the case here. I also got 2 of these blue rhino looking duders, 3 of these screaming lizard boys, and 1 of these hulky forest beasts. This is the claw contraption that I mentioned earlier. I had no use for it with this project, but I definitely threw it in my crafting supply bin to use in another project later. Okay, the first thing that I did was I primed these minis with some Army Painter spray primer. I mostly did them in white, but I primed 2 of the scorpions in black just to see how it would turn out in the end. A little comparison experiment, if you will. Again, they took the primer well in a nice even coat. Next, I used a $1 makeup brush from the dollar store to apply some Citadel contrast paint. This is Cygor Brown. This video isn't meant to be so much of a how-to paint video, since admittedly, I'm a pretty amateur painter. Instead, it's really meant to show you how easy it is to convert some old cheap toys into some pretty sweet minis for your games. Once I was satisfied with the way the contrast paint coat looked, I started thinking about color options. I wanted this to end up being a desert-themed mini bunch, so I started with some Citadel's Jokero orange base for the lizards and some storm vermin fur for the rhinos. Next, I used wraithbone for the rhino horns. Once I had some base color, I went back over the contrast paint lines to make sure that they were nice and clean. The eyes are simply dot painted with Deepkin flesh color. The lizard tongues are Game Color's Bloody Red. To highlight the scaly ridges on these minis, I used Kislev flesh to draw line accents on the raised areas. This made a big difference in the overall appearance of these miniatures. Again, you don't have to be an expert painter. You just have to search around YouTube, pick up a few tricks, and go for it. Finally, I dry brushed all the minis with Citadel's dry Eldar flesh. This really made these minis pop. To do this, I again used the $1 makeup brush from the dollar store. Dry brushing is such an easy technique to learn and implement. All you need to do is search around YouTube, and there's about 1,000 videos that'll teach you how to do it. I really like these Citadel dry brush paints. They really seem to work well. It really brought these miniatures to life and made a big difference in the end. For the scorpions and beast dude, after I applied the contrast paint, I just skipped right to the dry brush. It turned out to be a very effective way to bring out all of the little details on these miniatures without too much effort. In the end, I was pleasantly surprised with the result. I thought these minis turned out well and would make some interesting, unique desert creatures for future tabletop encounters. Now I just need to stat them and throw together some sandy terrain. The dry brushing really made these miniatures pop, and you can see here they fit really well on a 1-inch grid terrain setup. If you like these videos and you want to see more, please go ahead and consider subscribing to my channel. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you. And that's all for today. See you next time.